In today's video, I'm going to be giving an update on all of my basement aquariums. That includes 10 cichlid tanks that are currently set up down here, and I'll also give an update on my backyard koi pond. I just got back from being out of town for about 4 days, so some of the tanks may not be as pristine as they sometimes are, and I'll also be feeding some of the fish today as well. I'll just be giving a full update on all the fish I have, some of the equipment I use and run on some of my tanks, some general updates, and future plans that I have for my fish room down here. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Troy. I am one of the 3 cichlid bros, so today it's just going to be my tanks. My brothers Quinn and Alec have a bunch of aquariums as well, but we're just going to show mine today. We'll show some more of theirs in the future. So starting off right here with my 180-gallon South American cichlid tank. This tank has been set up and running for about 3.5 years now. It is an acrylic aquarium that is 6 by 2 by 2 feet. It is currently set up with sand, driftwood, rocks, and fake plants. I did have to do fake plants because some of these cichlids, like the Oscar and Severums, would definitely destroy any live plants. But I have 2 canisters running as well as a wave maker, and I just swapped on a aquarium co-op LED light, which I do think provides some warmth and color to the tank, which I do like a little bit more. I think it looks really good, especially in person, than some of the more white and blue LEDs. But as you can see with stocking in this tank, these are mostly South American cichlids with a couple exceptions. The biggest fish in this tank is my big tiger Oscar named Nessie, which is about 3.5 years old now and well over a foot in length. He is just a beast of a fish, and luckily he's played nicely with some of these other cichlids. I also have 2 red spot gold Severums as well as a red shoulder Severum. I have some Geophagus species with the Geophagus pyrocephalus, the redhead topos, and then I also have 1 female Geophagus dyndagneri. I also have a black acara in this tank that's been with me for about 6 years now, and then I have the 3 new fish, which are the walrus cichlids, and I just introduced those to the tank. I'll leave a link down in the description below if you'd like to see that unboxing. There's also 1 Central American, the Nicaraguan cichlid, which will be going in a separate tank later on. And then I have a big bala shark, which has been a great tank mate for some of these South American cichlids. And then the last fish we may not see is my blue phantom pleco, which is a beautiful fish, but as a lot of plecos do, it hides out a lot. But this tank is just awesome, has some of my favorite South American cichlids. The Geophagus have awesome behavior sifting the sand of this aquarium. I do water changes every 7 to 10 days on this tank, and overall it's just been doing great. It's one of the first big aquariums I set up down here in my basement, and I absolutely love it, especially the stocking. I really centered everything on the idea of having an Oscar with tank mates, and so far that has all worked out really smoothly over the last few years. I have considered updating the scape of this tank, maybe getting a 3D background or something like that. Since it has been set up for about 3.5 years now, it might be cool to make a change. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see that. So next up, right around the corner, is my 150-gallon South American cichlid tank. This has some different species than the 180, and this is actually a glass tank. This is a custom aquarium. The quality of these tanks really can't be beat, and I have 2 of them down here in my basement. I do have a wave maker for some extra flow, some driftwood, sand, rocks, and in this tank there are live plants. There are a lot of Anubias plants that have really grown in this tank, and because it's heavily planted with these Anubias plants, I don't have to do quite as many water changes. I only do about 25 to 30% changes every month or so. But with this custom aquarium, they are South American cichlids that stay a little bit smaller and maybe a little more peaceful than the 180. My favorite in this tank are definitely the Geophagus spini. I have a group of 5 of them right now, and some of the color, the metallic blues, grays, and reds in these guys are just incredible, and some of the trailers are starting to come in on a few of the bigger adults, so they just get better every day. And with this tank having the AI Prime lights, there's definitely a good shimmer that comes on in this tank, and when that light's hitting those Geophagus spini, there's really nothing that can beat them in my opinion. And I also have a few electric blue acaras in here, another one of my favorites, and these guys have gotten really big in the tank. I also have 2 zebra lace angelfish, which have really played nicely or held their own against some of these other cichlids. And then I have 1 albino hecali, then I think I have 7 denizen barbs, which have gotten really big. They're an awesome schooling fish with really cool color patterns, and they are from India, but they do work really well with some South American setups. And lastly, there are 2 bristlenose plecos and 1 exotic king tiger pleco, which we may not see today because they do hide out quite a bit. But overall, things could not be going better with this tank. I feel like it's a perfect setup with that awesome driftwood centerpiece, the live plants, and of course the fish. And a lot of people ask me about the lighting on this tank, and even though I did splurge and spend quite a bit, it does really put this tank over the top. So next up is my other custom aquarium, which is a 135 gallon, 6-foot long tank which has peacocks and haps from Lake Malawi. This tank is a pretty minimal aquascape with just some rocks and sand because these fish really prefer that open water swimming space, and they would eat and destroy any live plants I put in here. I do really like the algae that has kind of grown on these rocks, making it look a little more natural. But a lot of these peacocks and some of the common haps that stay a little smaller than the predatory types, they have all started to grow and color up. There are a few of these that I'm really excited about that should be coloring up or popping any day now, including the star sapphire, the blue dolphin, and the deep water hap, just to name a few. But a lot of the peacocks are already really colored up and have been doing well. The red shoulder peacock is the tank boss. The lemon jake and the sunshine peacock have bright yellow. The big dragon blood peacock provides a pop of red, and there's plenty of blues and other color patterns that are starting to come in. I've really enjoyed this tank. It's definitely a much different setup than the 2 South American cichlid tanks, which I like the contrast down here in the basement. These guys are so active. They swim back and forth in the tank, and they always want food and are always eager to greet me. They just have a little bit different of a behavior and demeanor than some of your other Central and South American cichlids. And on this tank I also have a seamless sump which has a Cichlid return pump and a Cichlid wave maker for some great flow in here. And the most recent update and a huge improvement to this tank was the lighting. I did install the AI mounting system for the aqua illumination blades, the 2 LED lights that I have above the tank. With the 2 lights suspended above the tank, I think it puts it over the top. Really excited to see this tank continue to mature and grow, and much more to come down the line. And next up is right around the corner, which is my 90 gallon planted discus tank. And out of all the aquariums, this is one that has been a little disappointing, and I'll take responsibility for that since I haven't really taken care of the plants like I should have. Some of them had died down, and I also did lose one of my big discus a few months back, so that was a pretty big bummer. So there are 5 discus left in this tank. A couple of them kind of hide out behind the structures there in the middle, but a few of them are still absolute stunners that go along nicely with the big school of rummy-nosed tetras. They're always swimming back and forth, and I really like them. I also have 6 Corridoras that kind of scavenge the bottom of the tank. But overall, I'm going to be focusing on this tank a lot more to kind of improve things, add some more plants, some that are going to be a little more hardy when it comes to the high temperature that go along with the discus, and also just show some more updates on the discus themselves. I just didn't really want to show it too much on camera since I was kind of bummed out about the tank, but that's how it goes. It's not always pretty. Some of my other tanks have been running really well, but this one just hasn't really gone as smoothly as I hoped. It has been up and running for about a year now, but there's definitely room for improvement with this tank. But then when you go into my fish room, I have 6 more tanks, including 4 on this wall, starting with my 75 gallon right here. This has electric blue acara that I've been growing out for a long time. The parents of these electric blue acara were in my 150. They laid eggs and the fry hatched in that tank. I scooped them out and put them in a grow out tank, and now they're in the 75. They've been growing out for about a year now, and they've put on some really good size. I actually have sold some of these already to subscribers in the Chicagoland area, so there used to be even more of them, but there's still probably 40 or 50 or so, and I'm likely either going to be continuing to sell them in my area or giving them to local fish stores. But it's been awesome to see these electric blue acaras grow from the beginning all the way to where they are right now. It's just been really rewarding and fun to see. And the tank full of electric blue cars actually looks pretty cool, and they always kind of come up to the front of the glass wanting food, and they're very outgoing and personable fish, and they obviously have that awesome pop of blue color. So I will be keeping some of these electric blue acara, but the 75-gallon tank will be repurposed soon and changed to accommodate a couple more fish that will be coming here and a scape that will be changing as well. I have some really cool plans, so I can't wait to show that. And speaking of future projects, my next tank here is a 20-gallon tank with a Cuban cichlid. I actually have two 20-gallon quarantine tanks with a pair of Cubans that have been separated while they've been in quarantine, and they are just waiting for the 75-gallon tank to open up, and then I'm hopefully going to have a really cool breeding pair of Cubans. These guys are absolutely stunning fish with some great color patterns. They are also very aggressive Central American cichlids, so they're usually best kept solo or in a pair, and that's what I'm going to be doing here shortly. But I'm really excited to have these guys in a more prominent position in my fish room. Can't wait to show that very soon on the channel. For both of these quarantine tanks, I really just put in some temporary structures and rocks so that they could have something to hide behind. And one of these 20 gallons will be repurposed to be the permanent home of the next fish. So down below the 75-gallon is my 10-gallon quarantine tank, which has a pair of Apistogramma McMasterei golds. This is a male and female. The male is slightly bigger with that red and yellow and the longer dorsal fins, but I absolutely love these fish. I have had Apistogramma in the past, and I've had McMastereis in the past as well, and they're probably my favorite type of Apisto. I can't wait to try and breed these guys and just set up an awesome aquascape tank just for them. That will be coming very soon. So as soon as the electric blue acara move along, the Cubans go in the 75, these guys will be going in a 20-gallon permanently for more of a breeding tank setup. So much more to come with my fish room. I also want to move some of these tanks around to make it more aesthetically pleasing. And I did share some of my future plans for the fish room on the video for the members. So if you do want to see that, just join the membership channel. And moving on to the double rack here, this is a 33-gallon and a 40-gallon. And me and my brothers built this rack about 2 years ago, and overall it's been really great. I've enjoyed these two tanks. Not the prettiest looking tanks, as you can see here, but there's a reason for that. Starting with the 33-gallon shell dweller tank here, these guys have burst into a huge colony of fish. I started with 8 of them, and they breed so readily in all the different shells. You'll see that there's tons of babies throughout the tank. So in terms of adult fish, there's probably 20 to 30 of them, and there's probably another 30 baby fry in here. So if I get my fish room in order, I would also like to start scooping some of these babies out so that they can continue to breed and I could give away some of those shell dwellers. But because they go through the tank and rearrange everything so often, it is really hard to make it look good, especially with the curved front panel of the Fluval Flex 33-gallon. It's not really ideal in terms of aesthetics. It's more so about enjoying the fish and the fish behavior, which I really have. So last but not least, before we get to the outdoor koi pond, is my 40-gallon breeder here, which is a cold water cichlid tank. This has Gymnogeophagus terrapurpura, which are from the Uruguay and Paraguay region of South America, which is much colder than your standard tropical temperatures, and therefore they don't need a heater in the tank, which is a really cool thing. The temperature of this tank stays around 60 to 65 degrees, and these fish are very happy and healthy. They are actually breeding pretty regularly in this tank, but they are absolutely beautiful fish. They are chasing around the panda cories and some of the green fire tetras, which is kind of a problem, but overall they're beautiful fish. But because they have been in breeding mode, I haven't really wanted to disturb the tank. And similar to the African shell dwellers, they just kind of rearranged the tank because they are in breeding mode. So it's not the prettiest looking tank, even though it is really enjoyable to watch these fish grow and breed. And then last but not least is my beautiful backyard koi pond. This is about 14 to 1500 gallons. It's pretty deep in the center, and I have 6 koi in here. The Japanese maple is starting to turn the fall colors, and I'm feeding the koi a little bit less as we start to head into colder temperatures. I am in the Chicagoland area, so this pond will freeze over if I don't put a floating heater disc. I will do that here in the next month or so, and the koi will go to the bottom of the tank and basically hibernate over the winter season, which they've done the last 3 years. But what was really exciting recently with these koi, I only had 5, and one day I looked in and I saw a 6th koi. At one point a few months back, these koi bred, and I found a baby koi that did survive. It's really interesting since koi usually lay thousands of eggs and hope that some of them are fertilized and hatch and survive, and only this one koi survived. So it's really cool to see that, even though I wasn't intending to breed the koi. Now I have 6 of them. I will leave that video down in the description below. It was a really cool one, but I think it was the big shishui and maybe one of the yellow koi. Right now I have 6 total, like I said. The biggest one is the shishui, which I've had for about 4 years. I have 2 yellow koi. I have 1 white koi, which is kind of the runt of the litter. I have 1 that's orange and black, which has some really cool patterns. And then you'll probably see here in the footage of the GoPro, the little baby kind of comes out of hiding here and there, and it's kind of a silver and yellow color. I'm really looking forward to seeing it grow a little bit bigger, trying to guess which 2 of these koi are its actual parents. But this has been a really enjoyable koi pond. Like I said, I'll be setting this up and winterizing this here in the next month or so as it starts to become a little bit colder here in the Chicagoland area. But that does it for the tour of all of my aquariums. I hope you like seeing all the updates, and like I mentioned earlier, there are more behind the scenes updates on those projects and some of these tanks that we are now posting on our members channel. So if you'd like access to those videos as well as some other really cool perks, just hit the join button down below and we'd really appreciate it. Or if you're just not subscribed to the actual channel here, we'd really appreciate that as well. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.